I'd like to call this meeting of the Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Deteen?
Here.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner McKinney?
Here.
Mayor Hill?
Here. Pastor Gauze?
Appreciate you giving me the honor to pray this morning or this evening. So, Lord, we do thank you, God. We can come here and we can strategize about how to make our city better, Lord. God, we thank you for your Holy Spirit, who is a guide, a leader, and a teacher for us, Father. And Lord, we just ask for your guidance and your leadership in this building tonight, Lord, and help us, God. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 on the agenda is agenda changes. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented? A motion?
Second.
And a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 5 is a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy for 2018. I declare the public hearing open. I would turn the floor over to City Administrator Nabel to explain the tax levy.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. At a previous, council meeting or budget workshop, they all kind of blend together now. But we talked some of the items to address our deficit, one of them being an increase to the property tax levy. You have before you, based on the consensus for the council, what we're presenting is about 2.8% increase in the property tax levy. We are limited by state statute on how much we can go up each year. It's the lesser of 5% of the consumer price index. This year the consumer price index they're using is 2.1%. So that's the maximum we could go up, not counting any new construction. So basically if there's a new development or new houses or anything like that, we can go up 2.1% on what last year's levy was, plus the amount of the taxes that would be on the new construction as well. So that's why the overall levy is a little more than 2.1%. We're getting that new construction piece as well. This would have an impact of about $13 to $15 increase on a $100,000 home. Something to keep in mind that we try to get out there information-wise is our piece is about 13 to 14% of the total tax bill. So when we say that it's going to go up, that's the city's portion of the taxes will impact your tax bill by about $13 to $15 on a $100,000 home. We've had this happen before where people come in and they go, well, you said my taxes are only going to go up $20, but they went up $200. We have no control over the other taxing bodies and what they do. Even if we didn't increase our levy, your taxes would likely go up because the schools, I won't say the township because they, but other taxing bodies can make decisions that will affect your tax bill much larger than anything we do. But that would be the impact of this levy. The levy that I'm proposing is $7.5 million even, which is about a $209,000 increase over the prior year total. I would expect that there's still some items that are in the county for Board of Appeals and things like that. So people are still debating values and things. So the final assessed valuation hasn't been established. So what we do is we give a little bit of a cushion there because there might be some reduction in the EAV and that might come down some. So even though we're submitting the levy at $7.5 million for an additional $209,000, I would expect that what we'll actually see is somewhere around $170,000, $180,000 actual new revenue when all is said and done. This, and just so you know, this levy will have an impact on the property tax rate of decreasing at about 4%. The reason for that is we can only go up to 2.1%. property values went up by, let's say, 6%. So the way the formula works out is our, rate times values equals our levy. So values go up, rate goes down, unless we increase the levy. So all things equal, if we didn't do anything with the levy, values went up 6%, our rate would go down 6%. Values went up 6%, our levy's going up 2%. It'll decrease the rate by about 4%, but like I said, you're gonna pay a lower rate but on a higher value because they've gone up, which is where that $15 in additional taxes comes from. It's a lot to try and get levy 101 in a short time, but I'll open it up to any questions.
The commissioners have any questions?
Just one, David. So the ordinance itself that I have in front of me here is $7,290,000. So, but you said
$7,500,000.
Mine says $7,290,852.
You should have two there. One's a max and one's a impact of a flat. And it might be in your packet.
Okay.
Not for public hearing.
All right.
Yeah, this one's 7.5.
All right.
So David, what's the difference? This one's 7.290, this one's 7.
The $7.5 million is the max levy
Max.
based on the direction of council from the last meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
You also have.
If I could interrupt just a minute, you have two here. You have one that's the max levy, and you have one with a flat levy.
Okay.
And
all right.
and you have two, because this has to be filed by Friday.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you would vote the max levy down, we wouldn't have enough time to have a special meeting because it's got to be in by Friday. So we gave a max levy and a zero levy, and that's why it's like that. Yeah, are there any other comments from the commissioners? Are there any comments from the public? Would anyone in the public like to speak, address the tax levy? Kathy, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kathy Champagne, Zion. I know that taxes are high and they're a burden, but we need it. I think the school just charged 4.99% on their tax levy. That's going to cost me about $200. You guys are asking for $20. Take it. We need the police, we need the firemen, and we need you guys to be able to do your job. And I don't think that $13 to $15 per household is that much to ask. So I'd like to see you go for the max.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Questions?
For Dave, just to clarify for people who may not understand how the P-TEL cap works, if we kept the levy flat, how would that impact us in the out years next year?
Basically,
or the next couple of years?
What the P-TEL property tax extension limitation laws, what's called, you're allowed to go up, like I said, consumer price index or 5%, whichever is less, based on your highest levy in the prior 3 years. So if we keep it flat, what happens is next year, if we could go up 2%, we're going up 2% of a lower number. So that it's basically like a compounding interest effect, but you're losing the compounding on, if we don't have that 209,000, next year if we went up 2%, you would lose 2% of that 209,000 as potential additional revenue forever. So that, that's a lot of times what you hear when somebody says we're losing that increase forever. That's what they're talking about, is the compounding effect of making that decision. And we've done that in the past, and it's caught up with us a bit in prior years when we haven't done the max. We again, as part of the budget discussions, it's open public information here. We're looking at about a $1.6 million deficit next year. This only addresses a small fraction of that. The rest is, a large portion of that is going to be placed on the burden of employees for salaries and benefits. But you know, we had home rule, it didn't pass, as everyone knows, which was something we were hoping to get in place to eliminate or reduce our reliance on property taxes, but unfortunately by that being voted down, our only revenue source that we have control over is property taxes, so we kinda got a catch-22. But, you know, that's where we're presented today.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I got a question. I got a question. Clyde McLemore, 2900 Elijah Avenue. I just want to know, if you went to max, next year, when it's time to do it again, will it go to max again?
I can't speak to that every year, it's a financial analysis.
You just said we'll be, even if we went to max, we'll still be 1.6 million in the hole, right?
If we went to max, we'd be 1.4 million in the hole versus 1.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means the next levy.
So we're gonna try and balance the budget this year. We've said that, we're gonna balance the budget, we're gonna get that deficit down. So next year, you know, we would hope we wouldn't have that deficit to face again because we're addressing it already this year. A lot can happen next, you know, between now and then, between various things we're trying to get for other revenue sources, things of that nature, again, to try and reduce our reliance on property taxes. So I can't say what next year we would need to do. We're hoping that we can get a lot of other things to hit to increase our revenue so we don't have to continue going to that level.
Are there any other questions, comments? I would just like to say that obviously the tax levy has an impact on property taxes. And we attempted to go to home rule in the last election. It was soundly defeated. And what we said at that time is that we wanted to go to home rule because we wanted to keep our property taxes flat. We did not want to raise the property taxes, and we had hoped to get an extra revenue source from the sales tax that we would have been able to put into place with the home rule authority. And at that time, we had talked about that no matter what happens, we have to balance this budget. And the only way to balance this budget is through increased revenue or decreasing the expenditures. And while we were talking about the home rule, we made a promise that we would not raise property taxes any higher than what the CPI is and that we're allowed right now. We would have had that authority if we were home rule, like we're limited right now to 2.1%. If we had had home rule, we could have raised it 10%. We could have raised it 8%. We could have raised it 3%. Could have not raised it at all. But we made a promise that we wouldn't go higher than the 2.1%. So I just want people to understand that when we're saying that we are going to raise this, we are doing the same thing that we could have done and said that we would probably do, even if we were successful at home rule. I shouldn't say probably do, that we would at least look at it, and this is the 2.1%. The other thing I want to point out, and Mr. Nabel kind of hit the point, is that we've sent out 15 layoff letters that have arrived for all of our employees. Just shoot.
And to put that in perspective, just for a number of employees, because
This really bothers me. We're asking our employees to take a $1.5 million hit. I mean, we're talking about 15 layoffs, we're talking about people not getting raises, we're talking about people having to dig deeper in their pockets to get it back. And I don't think it's too much to ask to collect $153,000 at $13 a year, $15 a year from every roof in this city. And putting this on here, I'm sorry.
Can I just ask another question, David?
Sure.
Because the EVA has gone up,
right.
Even if we levy this amount, 7.5 million, the tax rate will actually go down?
Yes,
And how much will it go down?
about 4%.
Okay.
The city's rate will go down about 4%. The city's rate.
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah, the city's rate would go down about 4%. That doesn't mean that anybody's tax rate's gonna go down when everybody else is done with this.
Yeah. But we don't have control over what other taxing bodies do.
Right.
But our tax rate will go, the tax rate that the city is responsible for will go down by 4%.
Correct.
Okay. That makes a difference.
Do you have a question? Comment? Come on up to the podium, George.
I'm George Dukas. I own Dukas Enterprises in Zion. I've been in business over 40 years, trying to make a living in this town like everybody else. These taxes are going to kill us. As far as I can figure, I'm going to be over 20 grand this year for property taxes. That's happened ever since I went to fix my property up and everything. I've been going steadily up, 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 up. I just want to let you know if it keeps going any more, I might not be able to stay in business. And I'm a guy that's been doing this for 40-some years. So I think you guys got to get your heads together between you, the school districts, and everything else and start looking. Because you're going to lose some people. You know, my customers come in and they ask me, why are your prices going up? I said, well, my tax bill's gone up, my light bill's gone up, my employee bill, everything is going up. I said, but what's gone up the most, it's hurting me the most, is the property taxes. I pay more in taxes than I do towards my mortgage. It used to be the other way around. You guys, we can't keep going this way. Businesses aren't going to survive. And we're the ones that are paying the biggest share of it. You know, I tried to do some things to my property, and every time I do, I get it. And I ain't saying where, but you know where I'm talking about. It can't keep going. You guys can't keep doing it. Somebody's got to start thinking about us people out there that are paying all this. I understand you brought up about your employees. Well, what about my employees? What about other people in this town? I understand. My son works for IDOT. He's getting it too. But we got to start putting our heads together as a city, as business, as people here. Because I'm telling you, I don't know how much longer I can keep going. I'm 72 years old. I shouldn't be worried about this. I should be getting ready to go retire. But no, I'm more worried about trying to keep my business going. And I mean, I've been around a long time. I've seen it all. I just went through the most rough time I ever went through in my whole life. And everybody knows when that was. I start to make a little bit of money, and next thing you know, my taxes start going up. And they just keep going up. So I guess that's what I got to say. I just want you to let you know, you're going to have to do something because you ain't going to have no people to pay the taxes anymore. I can't take no more. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, George. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? I declare the public hearing closed. Item number 6 on the agenda, citizens' comments. First is Mr. Bremner.
Mayor Hill, honorable sirs, gentle ladies, I stand before you this evening to wish each and every one of you, mayor, commissioners, legal eagle, city clerk, chiefs, directors, Mr. Buchholz, editor, and fellow residents of Zion, a very Merry Christmas and a happy, prosperous, and safe New Year. Permission to stand down, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Next is Clyde McLemore.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here today. First, want to thank our great Zion Fire Department. Today we had experienced my brother, my co-founder to our movement, house caught on fire, and they was there to save him. You know, that nothing happened, nobody got hurt, the house is destroyed, but that, you know, and I want to thank y'all for being on time. I just went over there and viewed the property. Y'all did a good job. Second of all, I want to honor our police department. You know, yesterday we had 2 police officers in Chicago get struck by a train. I know that area. I grew up in that area. I know them train tracks, and I know how them trains go by. You know, they was doing their duty, and just want to say, y'all just be careful out there. I have a sister who's a Chicago police, and the first thing I heard, 2 police officers in Chicago, I had to call home, make sure my sister was okay, you know. Thank y'all for your service. I'm here because over the summer, I just talked to Commissioner McDowell. We met with the Zion Caucus. Zion, help me out. Help me.
Zion Minority Caucus.
Zion Minority Caucus, and we met with the police chief, and it was open forum because I wasn't part of Zion Minority Caucus, but I was there in the audience, and it was that we wanted to make citizens' complaints more available for the citizens of Zion. Well, I had a little incident. I talked to the commissioner about it, and I did a complaint at the police station. I didn't have to bring that to the board about. But what got me was that when I did my complaint, told me I had to go get it notarized. And I felt that, okay, I got a bank account, and I know every bank got a notary in there, and it's free of charge to go to the bank, you know? But everybody don't, every citizen don't. And I felt that just having this form notarized is a discouragement to the citizens, because some of them wouldn't want to go to the Currency Exchange or come here to the clerk's office. Everybody don't have a bank account, don't know about getting free notaries, you know what I'm saying? And I felt that this was I just felt it just wasn't right. This wasn't what we discussed in that meeting, how we was going to make this form more accessible for the citizens. And I felt that this was, I haven't had the privilege to fill out one, so when I did get it, I'm like, what? So then they told me they couldn't accept it without it being notarized. Well, I jumped in the car and went to my bank. Hey, notarize this right quick. You know, brought it back, but I felt that this is, this not what we discussed, and this not what we said we was going to do. And I thank you for that.
I'm assuming there's a rationale for it.
Yeah, it's been on there, I think, since 2007, but maybe it's been since 2003, but I'm not sure. If somebody comes in and files a false complaint, without that notarization on it, we cannot do anything as far as criminal charges. Because you do have people that may come in and file a false complaint, and we would take that to the state's attorney if they perjure themselves on that form. So by notarizing it, it would be a form of perjury if they fill out a false complaint. So that's why it's on there. It's been on there, I think, since 2007. We do have a notary at the station. I'm not so sure why she couldn't notarize it for you right there, unless she wasn't.
I didn't know we had one.
Yeah, notary right there.
I actually think that would be the solution. If you didn't have access to a notary, one of our record clerks is a notary and can do it immediately for you.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe she was off. Dana.
Well, no, Pam, who's that? Is she the notary, Pam?
Yeah.
Oh, she the one gave me the form, so that's why.
Yeah, there's two there. One's a notary, one's not.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 7 is the consent agenda. Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of a regular meeting held on December 4th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Bills, vouchers 130906 through 131051 drawn on Huntington National Bank. Total $485,763.37.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 8 is consider passing resolution as follows. 8A is providing for and requiring the submission of a proposition of whether the City of Zion, Lake County, Illinois shall impose a non-home rule sales tax to the voters of said city at the consolidated election to be held on the 2nd of April 2019 per Mayor Hill. You have a resolution in front of you that is requesting a non-home rule referendum, asking the voters to approve the city collecting a 1% increase to the sales tax, and that would be the election on April 2nd, 2019. And this is a small portion of what we had hoped to do with the home rule question, but we're hopeful that citizens will see the opportunity to adopt the sales tax increase of 1%, which would be approximately $1.5 million added to the city revenue. So, is there a motion?
Go ahead. I'll move to approve this resolution.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that putting this to the voters is the right move. We don't have the authority to make that decision, but I think that asking the voters this question is an important question. And I guess I just want it to be clear that we are not raising the sales tax by putting this on a ballot. We're asking the voters, what would you like to do? So it's a question that's being asked. We're not saying this is what we are wanting to do. This is something we want the voters to decide, not the city council.
That's correct. Any other comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9 is consider passing ordinances as follows. 9A is providing for the levy and the taxes for the City of Zion, Lake County, Illinois for the tax years 2017 to be collected in the year beginning January 1, 2019 and ending December 2019 per Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As discussed in the public hearing, the ordinance you have before you is a ordinance for the 2018 levy of $7.5 million, $7,500,000 even. I would recommend that we adopt this levy. I would also, again, and it's been something that I've tried to do seminars on and streams on and everything, explaining how taxes work. I'm not insensitive to the issues that you're facing. I get it. We don't go into that lightly. I just ask that that same accountability and passion be held at all the taxing bodies as well. Unfortunately, the schools had their levy approvals. There was one person at one of them. I think there was maybe 3 at the other when those levies were adopted, and they will have a much larger impact on your property tax bills than the city's piece. I'm not saying we don't. We do have responsibility for 13% of the bill, absolutely. The issue is taking 100% blame for 13% of the bill, and we're willing to take our share of that burden and that responsibility in adopting this.
David, I just want to clarify, I read 2017. It's 2018.
Correct.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt a levy of $7,500,000.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion?
I would just say that this is an integral part of balancing the budget, which we desperately need to do. We are moving forward with, you've been in discussions the last couple days on cuts to expenditures, which involves personnel and benefits. But we can't leave this amount of revenue on the table. We just can't. The can has been kicked down to the end of the road here. So I think that's why we need to levy a maximum amount.
Any other comments? You've heard my comments before, and I'm not going to start blubbering again. So we have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
No.
Commissioner McKinney?
Commissioner Deteen, did you vote?
Aye.
I would go no. Although I approved the seconded, I just have a hard time with the prospect of raising the sale tax, and I know what it will do for the city, but I'm also very sensitive to what it does to our citizens as well.
Yeah, this is the property taxes, though.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was
How did you vote?
No.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9B is authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Zion and Clinton Auto Auction for the disposition of surplus vehicles per Chief Dumian.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I respectfully request the City Council approve the renewal of our agreement with Clinton Auto Auction, located in Clinton, Illinois, to liquidate seized vehicles and surplus squad cars. The current agreement expires on December 31st. There are no changes to this agreement as with the past 2 years.
Is there
I'll make the motion that we extend this agreement with Clinton Auto Auction.
a motion? Is there a second? Second. The second? Is there a discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. 9C is approving an intergovernmental and bylaws agreement for the purpose of creating and establishing an intergovernmental entity to administer and operate a land bank in Lake County per Commissioner McKinney.
Yes, over the last year or so, several Lake County communities, including Zion, have been working together to form a land bank. This effort was started and fostered with the help and leadership of myself and then Commissioner Richard Frierson. The main purpose of the land bank would be combat community deterioration by returning property to productive use in order to provide open space, housing, industry, and employment for citizens within the county. The land banks are designed to acquire and maintain problem properties and then transfer them back to responsible ownership and productive use in accordance with local land use goals and priorities, creating a more efficient and effective system to eliminate blight in our community as well as across Lake County. In order to accomplish these tasks, land banks are granted special powers and legal authority pursuant to state enabling statutes. Myself and then Commissioner Frierson believed a land bank would be ideal to address blighted areas within the city at little to no cost to the city at all. So I make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement in creating a land bank.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about this and how this impacts our city. And this is something that we've been working on since I've been on the city council in terms of improving the housing stock here in the city of Zion and making sure that we have safe properties, clean properties, updated properties for our city. In addition to that, with this land bank coming in, it also provides us an opportunity as the expansion of Foxconn comes in from the north in Wisconsin, that we have affordable housing here in Chicago, in Zion, Illinois, but also marketing. The real estate market in Wisconsin is going up significantly, so some of that the real estate
people that are looking at real estate are going to be looking at the affordable houses we have here and starting to trickle back across the border to Illinois because the housing prices are so high in Wisconsin. They're going up that high. In addition, there's been a couple of properties here that we've been looking at for the last 4 years. There's a property, 1805 27th Street, which is right across the street from Central Middle School. It has been vacant since, how long, Rich?
2014.
2014, and we have tried every way possible to locate the owner. And what people don't understand about abandoned properties, dilapidated houses, there is a process that we have to go through as a city before we can take down the house, acquire the house, have any demolitions, which costs money, and we've had to get grants to demolish houses in the area. That has been an eyesore in this community for so long. It's healthy. The health of it, the safety of it is awful. We've had break-ins there. There's water in the basement. It's a health hazard. And this land bank, along with some of the properties at 21 and 2200 block of Hebron Avenue, this allows us to address all of these issues with the properties and working with these other communities to form this land bank. Now, without little cost to the city other than membership, this allows us to submit properties that we've had constant issues with and allow the land bank to come in and return them, if they take the property, to return them to a great place so that they can be lived in, they can be utilized. The land bank actually takes the property, they become our real estate agent in marketing to different organizations and entities that want to buy these properties. Little cost to really fix them up. The land bank will fix them up and then sell them at a profit and take that profit as a nonprofit organization to be able to continue to buy properties within the Lake County area. Why this is important that we've gone into this, it took 2 home rule communities to be able to form this land bank. So there's 7 communities involved with it. This is going to help our property. This is going to help us in a lot of ways as we start to get rid of this blighted and abandoned property. It's going to help from a public safety standpoint, which has always been a priority here in town. When you start to deal with the blighted areas, the research has shown that the property values tend to go up. And theoretically, when property values go up, it should enable the property taxes to go down. So I would recommend that we, again, that the staff, our staff actually, I would ask our commissioners, excuse me, I get a little choked up about this because I've seen the conditions of some of the houses and how it impacts our community. This allows us to clean up our community with a housing standpoint, and also it will be something that will help our police department and law enforcement officials to be able to possibly cut down, decrease the crime that we're having in this area. So I recommend that, I'd like to recommend that we approve this.
You have a motion and a second, correct? You guys are about this, right? Yeah, I think this is a wonderful idea. It's an intergovernmental agreement with other communities around, and I commend Commissioner McKinney and past Commissioner Frierson for all their work, and Sonalita Bronson's been involved in this, and I just want to thank you for this. This can be a real step forward for us. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 10 is discussion, authorization, and approval. 10A is consider approving the appointment of a local government director to the Lake County Land Bank per Commissioner McKinney.
I'm still recovering. As part of this, part of the agreement, we also have to, part of the intergovernmental agreement, we have to approve the appointment of a local government director, and that director from our city will be our I'm having a mind blank here. this evening.
Administrator.
A city administrator, David Nabel. So I would like to have us approve the appointment of our local government director for the Lake County Land Bank as our Dave Nabel.
Representative, okay.
Yes, as our representative.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have 3 seconds. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
And commentary, I apologize for my rambling on this. This is something that had been in works for several years with us. And one of my responsibilities with the building department and working with the city is to help us improve the look of our city, but also the viability of as a good place to live. And you have to do that with starting with the homes. And just having the cooperation of Sonalita and former Commissioner Frierson, knowing how long this took to make happen is just a really positive step for us. And I get emotional about these things because I really care about where our city is going and how we're viewed outside of our city. So thank you for your patience in my rambling this evening.
Are you done rambling?
I am done. Stick a fork in it.
Item 10B is tabulation of bids, HVAC annual maintenance service for City Hall, Police Administration, Fire Stations 1 and 2, and Public Works per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioner. The city received 4 bids for the 2018 HVAC annual maintenance for City Hall, Police Administration, Public Works, and Fire Station 1 and 2. 3 of the 4 were responsive bids. McDonough Mechanical Services, $16,276. Northern Weather Makers, Inc., $16,899. Lee Mechanical, $18,700. Northern Weather Makers has been servicing our equipment since 2012. The company is already familiar with our systems. Based on experience with other HVAC companies, staff is recommending the responsible bidder, Northern Weather Makers, Inc., for $16,899.
I make a motion that we accept the bid for Northern Weather Makers to continue to provide HVAC services for the city.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Is there a reason that we're going to the second lowest bid? Third lowest bid? Second lowest bid, I'm sorry.
They've been with us for, they're familiar with our systems. We're afraid if we move with a new company, it'd take them years to get back familiar with our antiquated systems. They're running smoothly. We're in good condition right now. We felt it'd be better to stay with the current company.
They know where the baling wire and all the strings are holding
They know
everything
all the
together.
little details.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 10C is consider zoning docket 18Z12 requesting a variance from section 70-114, parenthesis 4, to install a monument sign for property located at 4527 Illinois Route 173 as petitioned by North Shore Sign Company per Director Ironson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. North Shore Sign Company is requesting a variance of section 70-114 to install a monument sign located at 4527 Route 173. The maximum monument sign permitted in this district is 8 feet in height by 12 feet in length. They are requesting to increase to 19.7 feet in height by 13.6 in length to accommodate all the tenants. The sign will be located at the east entrance off of 173. At the December 6, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they recommended to approve the variance.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 10D, consider zoning docket 18Z13 requesting a text amendment from section 102-504 solar energy systems to allow roof-mounted solar panels to be located on front-facing roofs as viewed from any adjacent street per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. Staff is recommending a text amendment to section 102-504, solar energy systems, to allow roof-mounted solar panels to be located on front-facing roofs as viewed from adjacent streets. The applicant shall demonstrate that due to solar access limitations, no locations exist other than the street-facing roof where the solar energy system can perform effectively. Staff is also recommending to the application requirements that a structural engineer has certified that the structural roof framing will support the additional loads. At the December 6, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they recommended to approve the text amendment.
Is there a motion?
So
Move
moved.
to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Just have a question. Is there a process for ensuring that the structural engineer looks at this before they?
Well, we already request a certified letter from a structural engineer that it's been inspected and it can support the additional load. Beyond that, we haven't taken it any farther.
Okay, right. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 10E is request permission to fill a firefighter/paramedic vacancy and request the name of the next qualified candidate from the Police and Fire Commission eligibility list per Chief Lewis.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. Battalion Chief Allentown retired in November of this year, and since that point, we've had 4 vacancies on our department, including our 3 safer positions, that in order to meet minimum manning, we've been filling with overtime. When we hired our last safer position back earlier this spring, we exhausted our new hire eligibility list, and it prevented us from filling anybody at that time. We've since then completed our new hire eligibility list. It just was published at the end of November. So at this point, I'm requesting that we hire the first candidate from our current list in order to reduce overtime and bring our shifts back to the level of staffing held before the SAFER grant. So I respectfully request council to authorize Fire and Police Commission to release the name of the next eligible candidate from the published eligibility list.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there a discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 10F is request permission to fill a battalion chief vacancy and request the name of the next qualified candidate from the Police and Fire Commission battalion chief eligibility list and permission to fill a lieutenant vacancy and request the name of the next qualified candidate from the Police and Fire Commission lieutenant eligibility list per Commissioner McDowell.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something that's been on the agenda the last 3 cycles of our city council meeting. One meeting we decided to take it off the agenda, and then the last meeting we took it off the agenda. And I appreciate you waiting for me to be back to explain why we want to do this. With the retirement of Al Town, who was one of our battalion chiefs that has left a vacancy in the battalion chief position, and it is how our fire service has operated over the last 40 years. There is the possibility that there would be some operational changes within the fire department, but we haven't made those decisions yet. So my recommendation to the council is that we fill that position with the next available candidate for battalion chief, and likewise the same for the lieutenant, which would fill the vacancy of the lieutenant that's moving up. And that's my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? A motion and a second. Is there discussion? I would like to just, I'm going to oppose this, and this has nothing to do with the people that are being considered for this position. My opposition is that we're in the middle of intense budget discussions, and I would, I'm not sure exactly what the structure of any of our departments are going to look like in a very short time. And I'm not comfortable promoting someone to a position that may not be there in 3 or 4 months. And that's just my feeling on this, so that's my discussion. Is there any further discussion?
Mike, how does this given what Mayor Hill was talking about from a budgetary standpoint, how this has impacted everything that we're talking about in terms of the cuts that we're making.
Yeah, right. I think that City Administrator Nabel could fill in some of those details. But right now, we still operate with battalion chiefs. There's someone in a command position in each of the shifts. So while there's this vacancy, based on our union contract, one of the lieutenants is acting up. That's the term that's used to describe it. So they are actually filling the battalion chief position, and they are also getting the battalion chief's salary. So we are still operating with battalion chiefs, and I think that we should fill this vacancy, and I think the entire fire service knows that there's a discussion on the whole operation of fire service. So there is a possibility that there would be changes, but until those changes are made, I think we ought to fill those positions. As far as the budget goes, because we're paying the salary of the lieutenant that's acting up in this position, I don't think there's a huge impact in our budget as a result. But David?
Well, I guess the other thing that I would want to comment on is I'm concerned about, and this really doesn't have anything to, well, it has everything to do with the firemen, but I'm concerned about the morale of the other employees of the city that are taking cuts, and at the same time, then we're turning around and we're promoting somebody to a higher paying job, and I think that will leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Now, that all may change. But that's the second reason that I have an issue with it. Any other comments?
I appreciate your concerns, Mayor Hill, and you know, my hope is that we'll be able to work this out, but it does cause some concern that we're filling positions that may be eliminated shortly. But on the other hand, your department knows better than anybody on how to run their operation, and so I hate to try to force a change when we haven't agreed to it yet. So I think I'll be voting for it.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Nay.
Mayor Hill?
Nay. Motion passes. Item 10G is discussion addressing ethylene oxide emissions in Lake County and drafting a letter in support of an EPA investigation per Mayor Hill. You have a very limited explanation in front of you. There are apparently two, this was, got some press during the elections on, there was a facility, I believe, in DuPage County that was leaking ethylene oxide emissions, and they are determined to be carcinogens. And then it came up that there are two facilities in Lake County. One of them is Waukegan, and I believe the other is in Gurnee, and they're right off of 41, and we often get winds from that direction, and I would like to have the council's permission on behalf of the council to write a letter to our elected officials, both state and federal, to ask them to continue putting pressure on both the EPA and the IEPA to be sure that they continue the investigation of what actual harm this stuff can do for us here. That's it.
You're just asking for information from them,
Am I
basically?
what?
You're just asking information.
No, I'm asking them to continue pressuring the EPA and the IEPA on an investigation of what this stuff does and how far it travels, and if it can affect us here. And I'll write the letter, but I want it to be from the city council, not just from Al Hill.
I'll move to approve that.
We have a motion to approve, or we have a motion. Is there a second?
There's a second.
And a second. Is there a discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 11 is departmental commentary. Department heads have anything to share? Mr.
I'd like
Nadel?
to do a little self-promotion here real quick, but also inform residents of, it's a discussion series that I started back in November. We're calling it Dollars and Cents. Monthly, the second Tuesday of every month, we're meeting at It's All Good at 6 o'clock to discuss different issues, different things that we see come up a lot during, whether it's on Facebook or citizen comments or just phone calls, emails, things of that nature. The first one was in November. It was to explain property taxes, how your tax bill works. There's a lot of information and misinformation out there. It started off with a rousing one attendee. The recent one in December was understanding economic development, explaining how retailers how retailers find out about us, what the city's role is in economic development, why they do or don't come here. We had 500% growth as 5 attendees were at that one, so we're rolling out here. But I want to let you know that the next one is January 8th. It's All Good at 6 o'clock. The topic is going to be communicating with your government. There is a lot of overlap on, we put stuff out there, whether it's on the website, on water bills, in the newspaper, and then we hear, well, I didn't see it, I didn't know about that. So we're missing the boat somewhere on how people consume their information and where they look at for that, and how the city communicates that out. So we want to have a dialogue on how best to communicate with your government and what tools are out there, whether it's the complaint forms, whether it's what's available out there and what's a better way to do that. So I would invite, it's open to anyone, support a local business, come and learn a little bit, and appreciate any feedback. It's All Good, just across here on Sheridan Road. And please come on out.
What time is that?
6 o'clock, 6 p.m. on January 8th. That's the next one. Thank you.
Anything else? Item 12 is announcements. December 24th, 25th, and the 31st, and January 1st, the city offices will be closed for the holidays. January 1st, or on here it's got January 2nd, 7 p.m. the Zion City Council meeting was originally scheduled for January 1st. It will be canceled altogether, and the first meeting for 2019 will be January 15th. The schedule for all the meetings and holidays for the year will be in the newspaper on December 28th and will be posted on the city website and in the lobby at City Hall, and copies will be available for anyone that would like one. January 15th at 7 p.m. there's a Zion City Council meeting, and I believe there will also be a township meeting at 6:15. Item number 13, we have a need for a closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 open meetings for the discussion of collective bargaining and personnel. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner McKinney?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. You can use one back in there.
I understand.
You can use my wrong one.
As it grows, we're gonna also try and do it like a stream on Facebook, like Facebook Live, where people can ask questions. But it's gonna be the second Tuesday of every month.